This is the regular monthly meeting of the Woodbridge Board of Finance for May 16th, 2019. And the first item on our agenda is public comments. Would anybody like to make a public comment?
Good afternoon or good evening. My name is Bill Silverberg, 31 Jenick Lane. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for having spent a great deal of time working on this budget, and I really have no problem with the amount of money or the budget itself, but I have a problem with the process involved here and what the people in this town know about this budget and what I think this board and the finance department should do to improve it. I have in front of me what I believe is probably the call for the meeting that's going to take place coming up here next week. And I decided to read it, which is unusual. I often feel that many people in this town come home at night, cross their drawbridge, pull the drawbridge up around their moat, and are only interested in what's happening within their own house. There's still some of us who are left over from decades are really concerned about the town as a whole. I know you don't have it in front of me, and if I'm making a mistake in what I've said, I will stand to be corrected, and I would appreciate someone telling me right now as I make my comments. There is a column here in this budget called the projected budget for 2018-19. That budget item is what this finance board, the finance director, projects is going to be the sum of money that would be spent on this town. When I went down here to the Woodbridge Board of Education, the amended budget, the adopted budget, and the projected budget are all the same. For months, several months, I have heard that there's going to be a deficit in the Woodbridge Board of Education. I'm not objecting to that deficit. Don't misunderstand me. From what I gather, it's a good, legitimate expenses for repairs and for special ed. But you're not telling the people of Woodbridge in this document that you are spending $300,000 more than what is in the projected budget. That bothers me. It should be there, in my opinion. This is a town, and the town people should be approving the budget. Granted, we rarely get a quorum any longer. I do remember the days when we had to stand to be at these town meetings, but that isn't in this budget. There also is another concern that comes up with me. It is as follows. Something like, who's wagging the dog? If I understand correctly, the finance director here gets purchase orders and so forth from the various departments here, approves or possibly disapproves them, and he sticks within his own budgetary lines for any one particular item, whether it be the police department, the fire commission, etc. Who has authorized the finance chairman, the first selectman, or their boards that the Board of Education should spend $300,000 more than what the people - the town of Woodbridge approved at approximately this time last year? Again, I'm not complaining that the fact that the $300,000 isn't a worthwhile expenditure. But who approved it? Now, I remember back, and someone else correct me on this, when Mrs. Morella was first selectman, that we established a sum of money of approximately $50,000 that could be handled by the boards directly, or a certain percentage of the budget. But now we're in the middle of May, or approximately the middle of May, and A, it doesn't appear here, and we the people have not approved $300,000. I decided to read the town charter. That's a big mistake. Don't ever try that. Online, you can go crazy trying to figure out where any one particular item is, and I'm not sure I understand where it is. But that is a concern of mine. Again, legitimate expense, but the people did not vote upon it. The second thing that bothers me is as follows. There was a senator from Illinois many years ago. This is where age comes in healthy. Named Everett Dirksen. Everett Dirksen, and I'm going to paraphrase him very poorly, once said $1 billion here, $1 billion there, soon you have a lot of money. Well, let's take it down to the size of Woodbridge here. If I understand correctly, and again, I'll stand to be corrected by anyone here, there is approximately $1 million coming back from the Amity Board that has been put back into our general fund. I came to this board X number of months ago and threw out a phrase about value-based priorities. It appears to me from listening to this board and to the Board of Selectmen that what you have done is taking capital expenditures for a large part out of the next year's budget, taking it away from the people to decide whether a new, and I don't remember what the items were, but let me make them up if you'll pardon me, a new truck, a new police car, a new something. You've taken it away from them to decide whether that's where they want to spend their money. You moved it back into this year's budget and have taken it upon yourself to spend a portion of that $1 million, not unwisely, I'm not claiming that's unwisely, but spending it on items that the people had no choice over and have been approved by the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, of something of that sort. Again, as a resident of Woodbridge for 60 years, I would like to have had a say in how that money was spent. I'm not saying it was spent wrong, but I think it should be open for public discussion along the way. And that concerns me. The third thing is there liability on the part of each and every board member of the Board of Education for not exercising their fiduciary responsibilities? I don't know the answer there. The MD degree does not confer expertise in all areas. But they spent $300,000 or thereabouts that I didn't approve. I don't think the Board of Finance approved it. I don't think the Board of Selectmen has approved it. And if you add it to the agenda for next Monday, that is really telling me that the tail is wagging the dog here. What is to keep any board from overspending its budget and coming back and saying, hey, give me the money? If I sent my son to the grocery store to buy a loaf of bread and I gave him a $10 bill and he came back with no change, I'd like him to explain why he thought he had the authority to spend the difference. If I appear critical of you, I apologize to each and every one of you individually along the way here. But I don't think this was done the right way. Those are my comments. If I've said something that is factually wrong, I will stand to be corrected. I tried my best to get to the facts as best I could, and I thank you for your time. Mr. Chairman, thank you. To the two members who are leaving, thank you very much for having served on the board over this year, and good luck.
Thank you, Bill. Okay. Stuff we have to talk about. Okay. Tony, your report.
Okay. The report has a surplus of just over $100,000 for the end of the year. Most of our surplus funds are from our interest income account, which is a little under $200,000 surplus, and our state revenue, which is about $178,000 surplus. In terms of expenditures, and just a quick note about the this charge for services, there's a slight deficit, about $115,000, most of which is from the closure of the pool. And as of this end of April, the Amity surplus is at $376,000. And expenses, there's a surplus in finance due to a payroll elimination, clerk elimination. The library is about a surplus of about $45,000. They had the elimination of a part-time bookkeeper and some other staffing changes that created the surplus. Waste management is a deficit projected due to recycling charges. The benefits is a surplus of about $35,000. And the Woodbridge Board of Education is a deficit of $300,000. That's a projected deficit, by the way. And that's the summary for you.
So then let me ask a question to follow up on what we just heard. On this,
They haven't actually yet overspent their budget
okay,
because I think Al told me it's not until the middle of June they actually overspend their budget
okay.
because it's a projection.
They're
So they have
projecting it.
payroll,
Right.
they have bills, they have insurance, so they actually haven't, if you look at their report,
We're also looking at money transfer.
right, to cover it. Right. So if you look at is there a report in here? So they've expended to date, this is through March, 10.3 million, and their budget's 14.6.
I got you.
So
So as we sit here tonight, they're projecting a
Free-
deficit, but it's not actually been realized.
Correct.
They still haven't spent their whole budget.
Correct.
So things can change.
And so that's why you're considering the transfer this evening.
So the question then is,
So they actually haven't overspent their budget yet.
the document that Dr. Silverberg
He's
was
right
referring
about the
to,
document. I didn't include the,
should you have?
I probably should have, yeah.
Okay, not a problem.
Yeah.
And as far as the, we're going to approve a bunch of capital items that we had voted out. I can understand his concern. I can. None of them are controversial or earth-shattering, and they're things I believe that we felt were bona fide, and just we took them out to try and get the budget down. And now that we have, it's the way we operate. It's the way the Board of Finance can operate. We can use contingency funds that were not spent
Right.
to fund these things. But in this case, we're using Amity funds on
Right.
a lot of them. So.
Right. So another way to do it would have been to take in the Amity funds into the fund balance and then increase the fund balance allocation next year
Right.
to accommodate for
Yeah.
the capital
So one way or
expenses.
another, right, it
You
can
know,
be.
then it would have been in the budget and
Right.
you would have, and that's certainly another way to do it.
Okay.
If, or if you had contingency left over and just, we're not going to spend our contingency, let's let it roll to the fund balance and then we'll increase our fund balance allocation next year.
But again, we do have the authority to spend, was it 50,000?
No, it's actually 50,000, the less than $50,000 or 0.15% of the budget.
Right, so-
Which is 75,000.
Right, so we're well with, in
So
other words, if we approve a $25,000 piece
Capital.
of equipment on
Right.
capital,
Anything $75,000
the
or
charter
less.
is 100%.
Right,
We're adhering to the charter 100%.
correct. It's not a charter issue.
We can't, right, we can't go to a town meeting for every little piece of equipment that
Right.
so this is what we are granted, this,
How would we address that with this transfer?
that's going to be, that's a separate matter. I think I made it clear the night that this has to stop. I mean,
Right, but it looks like we're giving it to them.
well, we have to. Don't we? Yeah.
Well, I think we also have to go back historically to what we've committed to related to special education.
Yeah.
And I'm putting all the facility work aside. We've had a long-standing agreement with them that they should project their special ed budget based on the students they know about, not the ones they don't.
Sorry.
So that we're not raising more money than we need. But we know that things can change and that we're not expecting the school itself, if they can, save money and cover those expenses, that's great. But if they can't, then we're saying that the town will cover those special education expenses that they did not anticipate.
Right, no, I get that, and I remember that from when I was on the
Yeah,
Board of Ed.
Yeah.
Right? And we had the same issues back then with special ed, and there's not a whole lot you can do with that. But I'm more concerned with our $75,000 now. And we're looking
That's
at
for
300.
capital.
That's just capital.
Yeah.
What about something like this?
So,
I mean, we can wait until we get there, but that's
no.
we can handle that under discussion when we're looking at the line
Okay.
item transfers. But I don't want to hijack the whole meeting. I'm just concerned about that.
okay.
Not that I disagree that we shouldn't. We have to fund it. I'm just more concerned about the procedure and.
I don't want to shake anybody up, but I believe there is a law that board members can be held personally responsible for overspending the budget. So it's something they, as a group, should be aware of, and instead of just approving, they better take a long, hard look at what they're spending over there, so. I mean, we did have that arrangement, Sandy, but it was never,
It's never been
Like
this
this.
much money.
Never has been
It
this much
hasn't.
money.
and that's,
But the
and
money
that
that we have right now is not, I mean, I don't remember what the percentage of it is for special ed. It's certainly not the 300,000, so.
well, that's the other thing, is the full 300,000 special ed?
No.
Right.
No.
Right.
No.
So it's something we definitely have to address.
Well, I think as I brought up at our last meeting, it would be very beneficial for us to come up with guidelines for them
Yeah,
now, because they're going to be entering into teacher contracts, and they have to consider all aspects of their operation in terms of what they need to change to be able to come up with a budget within the constraints that we set for the following year.
Right, but again, it's just, I'm concerned with spending that much money just as a line item transfer. I've never seen something that large in all the years I've been involved.
I'm also concerned that Woodbridge seems to be the lightning rod for this stuff. I spoke to some of the Bethany people, they don't have this problem. Orange doesn't have this problem.
Well, I mean,
This
we have
kind
an
of
excellent
problem.
school system,
Yeah.
and people come here for the special ed,
I guess,
right? And I know I can name half a dozen families.
yeah.
But that just speaks to the quality of the school system. So kudos. But again, it's $300,000, and I'm concerned about overstepping our bounds, and if we have the authority even to do that. That's my concern.
So maybe it's,
Well, we can talk about it at the time, or,
we'll talk about it now.
yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
you, regardless of how this is done, you would still have to recommend it, or not.
Right.
Whether, the question is whether or not it then goes on to a town meeting or not. Isn't that the question,
I think so.
right? The question is not whether or not, I mean, even
I
if.
guess Matt had just mentioned, individual liability for overspending a budget. So I don't think that applies here necessarily, but we, sitting as a board of finance, looking at a $300,000 transfer, and we had the discussion when they were here, and we asked them to come back and help us out a little bit and tell us what it was for, and we didn't get a response. And now we're just saying, all right. I mean, that's,
So how are we handling this? What is going to happen?
So the next step in the process is the Board of Finance has to decide whether or not they want to approve this transfer. If you do, then the next question is whether or not it has to go to a special town meeting for approval.
Have we talked to our town council?
And our town
about
council is currently reviewing that matter and has, I'm sure, will come to a conclusion on that.
this? Well, maybe we'll find out Monday.
Yeah, and you probably find out on Monday.
We have to find out whether we can do this, or whether we want to do this, so.
And just
But
out of curiosity, if
you would
can't
still have
do
to-
it, what happens?
yeah, well, if we say, yeah, okay, approved,
Regardless of
and
the
then
amount, you still
on
have to
Monday
approve it.
before the
Yeah.
town meeting, we're told
You still
can't
have to
do it.
Well, you still have to, the question is not whether or not you can do it, it's does it stop at your board? Or does there another layer of approval required? That's sort of you approve a $20 million bond issue, you recommend.
Or we recommend that.
Yeah, so
to
you
the
recommend,
town.
the question is, are you recommending this to the town meeting or
Yeah.
not?
I mean, that seems to be the question, right?
Question, I
Rather
mean,
than
should it be
approving
a
it's
separate-
Correct.
recommending it.
Well, should it be a separate
But
item at
it's
the
not
town meeting?
represented in the document, so that it would be hard for people to.
Yeah, it would probably have to be like another special town meeting. I'm not sure if it would be it's not in the
Well,
town
we're gonna,
meeting.
I guess we're gonna have to wait to hear from town council,
Yeah,
I'm guessing,
yeah.
because we've never had this.
It's coming from funds that are, it's specific, as I understand it. If it's from contingency, there's a certain set of rules. If it's from another expenditure, it's a certain set of rules. If it's from fund balance, there's a set of process. There's no process if it's from revenue you've received from somewhere. I guess that's how I understand it. It's where the money's coming from,
That makes a difference.
yes.
So, in which situation is it most restrictive or least restrictive?
It's most restrictive, I think, fund balance. and then contingency, and then if it's from another expenditure, there is no limit. In other words, it's just that you can transfer any unexpended
Right.
appropriation from one to another.
So, I mean, theoretically,
So this is
this money has been raised by taxes, okay?
Mhm.
And it's being returned to the town because it was not necessary, it was not used by Amity.
right.
So it can be used for multiple different purposes. It's not, I don't consider it revenue because it was raised through taxes. Now, maybe that's incorrect, but
And again, I don't know, I'm certainly not anywhere close to an expert on this, but it seems to me that if we gave them the money and they're giving it back, doesn't it just go into the general fund? I mean,
It goes
isn't that
into
where
the-
it came,
Into
isn't
the
that where it
fund
came
It's
balance.
a
from?
revenue in the general fund, and at the end of the year, it goes into fund balance if you don't use it.
Okay.
right. But Tony's also saying that the most restrictive place to put that money is in the fund balance.
Right, but do we have a choice as to where, I mean, where it goes?
No, it's just regular, it's revenue. I mean, that's how we've always recognized it. It's not an expenditure. It's not a reduction in expenditure because it's from the prior year
Right.
budget.
Right.
Okay.
Our accountants always, that's where they've given us the guidance on that, our audit.
Well, as
Our
we go through
auditors.
the
So, I
funding
don't know if you want
requests,
to recommend it, or, I mean, I'm not sure how you want
recommend the
to, or not.
300,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be talking about it. Let's,
Right, this was two
Well-
questions, right? Whether or not $1,000 amount is correct, and then where it goes after that,
Right.
right?
And I think the other thing that we need to be concerned about from a long-term perspective is that we don't have this money again next year. It's not
Can't
there.
go back there.
No matter where, right. And we cut all these things out of the capital budget. We're saying, okay, well, we'll fund them because we happen to have the money now. But we're not going to have that money next year. And we're not going to have the money to actually make up a deficit for special ed either. And that's why I think having a budget strategy and having, a target that we want people to reach is really, really important. Because we have to bring the mill rate down. We cannot keep increasing it. We can't.
we might not have a choice if the reval doesn't come out right.
Right. But I think that just emphasizes how we have to really push
Scott,
back
I
on
was
it.
reading,
Right.
I was reading something, I think, was it North Haven, saying the same thing. Our grand list might go down with the reval. And when it does, our
Oh,
mill
yeah.
rate's going, I think it was Mike Fried in North Haven said that he's anticipating it might. So,
And I hesitate to say this in a public forum, but I'm going to anyway. I mean, in their budget, they were asking for new teachers.
Yeah.
We clearly don't control how they use their money, but don't we have to remind them or guide them or something to say, before you go ahead and
Yes.
do this? I mean, we asked specifically
I
how
think that
much
is
is
correct.
salary going to cost us next year? And if they're putting up something that's going to put, the contractual obligation of salaries for the following year, and I know there's salary and health and pensions, is going to put them over an increase in the budget, then we're comfortable for. Shouldn't they know that before, not only before they do contract negotiations, but before they hire teachers or grant raises or anything else? I mean, and that's not saying I wouldn't approve of doing all that if the money was there, but I mean, I think what Bill said is sort of, for me, the thing that resonated, what would prevent anyone from
yeah.
just overspending?
Well, Tony it goes through every
Because
one
I
of
have
those
control
budgets.
over
He controls
all the
those
other
budgets.
budgets.
Every other budget other than Board of Ed, Tony controls. So
Right.
Right.
he'd spot it in a second and stop it. So
Right,
you know,
that's correct.
we'd know about it. The Board of Ed operates in a different
Well,
plane than
and,
the
and,
rest of
and
the
I
town.
think the example we can also give back to the Board of Ed is that they did have a savings in health benefits. It didn't go to reducing their budget.
Nope.
It went to hiring, 1.5 special ed
I'm
teachers.
convinced that even though we cut a significant amount out of their budget, nothing's going to change. I think we kind of heard that
Yeah.
they found some money in different places, and I don't think they're going to change a thing about their budget. So,
And how do we make sure that they understand that might work this year because we had a windfall? if you want to call it that. And-
Right.
And they better
Well,
not play
like I said, the most revealing slide in the presentation that Beth and Tony gave was the one that
Yep.
all but $17,000
Yes.
of our went to the boards of ed.
Yes,
Mostly Beecher,
yes.
mostly Beecher. It's you know, how much can we, I mean, we have all these departments that do a great job, and they really don't, year after year, hammer us with big increases. So I don't know how much more we can lean on them, so. But let's go through these requests, and we can get into a conversation. So if I'm correct, Tony, after all these requests, if we were to approve them all, we still have 62,000 left in contingency? Is that correct?
Probably, let's see.
62,908?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
That's correct.
all right.
Right now, Board of Selectmen is gonna address that other one they didn't approve.
Yeah, that's not out of here, yeah. So,
Which
But-
one is that?
the strategic, there was one the Board of Selectmen put on
Put on hold.
hold,
right?
the strategic plan
Yeah,
one,
they
that's
wanted to review the scope.
181931.
So it's not even in here then?
It's not in here. Well, and then if may or may not make it in there. But so as of all, after you do all these, 62,908 in contingency.
Okay. All right, then the first, we have many, so let's start with number 1819-22. And this is a request for funding from contingency, from the contingency fund to capital for the police department. And I think we had told them, this is for replacement of firearms, Wi-Fi modems, a taser and holster, in the amount of $12,735. And these are things I think that they really do need. So I'm going to move acceptance of request for funding 1819-22 in the amount of $12,735.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this? Any comments anybody wants to make? I think we talked to the police department about this and said we'd try and get it through, so, nothing? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, okay. Next is 1819-23, and this is a transfer. And again, we heard about this, but it's coming out of the Public Works Department into the Public Works Department. And it's $10,000 to continue to address dead and dying trees that need to be removed or trimmed. And again, I don't think this is anything that we don't know about.
Around town. There's a
Correct.
Separate request.
Yes.
Right, but this, I think, is.
Correct.
the ash
That's correct.
trees,
This is around town.
Right, I think it was to address the ash.
Ash is
trees that are
correct, yeah.
dying.
Okay, I'm going to move acceptance of line item transfer 1819-23 in the amount of $10,000.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Next is, all right, these are, this is the fire department. And it's a request for funding from contingency for 23 Minotaurs.
So let me,
Go ahead.
I'll just explain. The budget was originally $24,800.
Okay.
We lowered it to $12,000 in the budget next year. And the difference is,
Oh, we're coming up with the difference.
right,
This
So
is the
it's-
total request.
correct.
So
Right.
it's- we really can't
You can't, so it's not like a one-to-one
But again, I think
thing.
it's, rescue saws and
yeah.
roof saws, and you got units that are 17 years old, 20 years old, so this is just old stuff. So again, I'm going to move acceptance of request for funding 1819-24 in the amount of $12,800. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Checking these boxes here. Next is an additional request for funding, and it's to fund, it's from our contingency to fund computers requested in the FY20 budget that were deleted. I'll move acceptance of request for funding 1819-25 in the amount of $6,000.
Second.
Tony, what do you want to say about these?
This is for town hall personal computers that we have on a rotation plan. They're every 5 to 6 years. We replace desktop computers.
Okay. This is,
That's
you
about
know
how old these
how
are.
many this is?
So they're, what are they, about $800, Karen? Yeah. So it's
Charlie,
about
we replace
7
them
or
every
so.
5 to 6 years, is that?
Yeah, about 5 years, some are
It's
6.
pretty long.
Yeah. So when we get rid of them, they're, they're ready to,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I'm surprised they last that long.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Next, all right, this is the first from the Amity surplus. funds.
Correct. So I did the operating capital out of the contingency fund, and then the capital stuff
Okay,
out of the surplus,
okay.
just to sort of keep it straight.
So again, this is a line item transfer, and we're taking it out of the Amity surplus funds, which, as Sandy pointed out, we'll never see that kind of money again, so. And I'm assuming that, we've heard all this about,
These were
for
all-
example, the Darling House.
Correct, yeah.
Right, so I'll move acceptance of line item transfer 1819-26 in the amount of $10,000.
Second.
Okay. Any questions on this? It's pretty standard stuff. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. All right, the next one, and again, these are, I mean, again, it's coming out of Amity, but one way or another, we're paying for it. This is our reval. So I'm going to move acceptance of line item transfer 1819-27 in the amount of $25,000.
Second.
Any discussion on
Yeah,
this?
can we go over again why we pay this?
Why-
Reval?
The
The reval?
the 25,000.
Sure. So Betsy does revaluation. She's got, starting on this October 1st, and they due in February 1st. That's sort of the time frame. And so she does most of the work herself. A lot of towns hire a firm to come in and view everything when you do reval. So we used to do that, and I would say it was, back when we did it, it was maybe $200,000 would cost us, $250,000. Since that time, Betsy gets a stipend each year to actually view the properties and record them on their cards as she is going around town for other things. So she makes sure she views all the properties, and whatever she doesn't do in the in that period, she'll do now. So actually, she's starting it, I think, in June. She's going to take each section of the town. If it hasn't been viewed in a certain time frame, she will view it. She'll record it on her records. So the rest of it is for other costs related to revaluation. Particularly in the business district, she will oftentimes get appraisals of more complicated, like the assisted livings and some of the office parks. She'll have, sometimes we have appraisals of those, or technical assistance. She'll have a firm come in and audit her work to make sure that her work is correct. And there's other related costs, and that's basically what that's for.
Yeah, it's by state statute, we
Yeah.
have to do it.
Yeah.
And again, we took this out with the intention, I think, of funding it with Amity.
Correct.
And we said that
Yes,
at the
yes,
time.
yes.
We knew we
No, I
have to do it. It's not like,
Right.
oh, we took it out, and now we didn't say any of these were unnecessary. What we said was, we'll take them out, and we have all this money from Amity, we might as well save the taxpayers the money of, otherwise it would have had to been in the budget. You can't not do this, so. Any other questions on this?
Thank you, Tony.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, aye? Next, again, Adam or Brad, whoever takes care of the tennis
Adam.
courts, Adam,
Yeah.
made a strong case for the tennis courts need some work done, and it was $33,000. And again, I think we took it out with the intention of funding it with the Amity, so. I will move acceptance of line item transfer 1819-28 in the amount of $33,000.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I want to make
Yeah.
a comment on this
Yeah,
one.
go ahead.
Okay, so this includes 2 courts. It's the town hall courts and the Beecher courts.
Okay.
Well, it's more than 2 courts, it's a lot
I
of
mean, it's a lot of
courts.
courts, but 2
Right,
areas.
2 areas, right.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my question,
Yeah,
so good.
and, okay, and
Oh, this
it's
is Beecher also?
yes, so there were
That's
some,
why it's so
there were some
much.
cracks
Yeah.
in it, and it's a little over budget, so there's a little bit of money here more than what the capital budget was.
Okay.
maybe the capital budget was 25, maybe this is 33, something like that. So it contains a little more because we're adding the Beecher courts.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to
So
make.
we did not separately approve.
We did the
that.
Beecher courts for $25,000 back
Right.
earlier, beginning of the year, I think it was. It should be
Okay.
in here, actually. Yeah, there it is. Number 1, 2, 3, fourth one down, 25,000. See that?
Oh, Beecher North Tennis
Right.
Courts, okay.
And the cost is like 28 or something. We priced it off state contract.
Okay.
So it's like 3,000 or so.
All right, and that was a line item transfer, that was.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it was from a
Got it.
capital project that we had. So there's some
Okay.
money in there to cover the rest of that court.
Okay.
And then the existing court.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
But when we get through with this, I want you to just quickly, not exact numbers, but run through what we got from Amity. And
Yep.
I know we've been told, why, but then we carried it
Yep.
forward and we put it in, so
Yep.
we'll get an idea exactly what we did with that
Okay.
money, okay? Next is, we took one of the police vehicles out, again, with the intention of funding it with excess funds.
Right.
Again, we've committed to this program of replacing vehicles, and I know one year we had them not get a new vehicle, and all they did was have repairs on it, so. I'm going to move acceptance of line item transfer 1819-29 in the amount of $38,000.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Again, it's a vehicle that they requested in the normal course of business that we took out, so. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Next is Public Works to fund their budget for heavy equipment, again, which we took out. I'll move acceptance of line item transfer 1819-30 in the amount of $55,000.
And this is mainly for a payment on a lease for a sweeper, which we now sweep in-house and don't pay $30,000 a year to have a contractor do it.
Right.
So it paid itself in 2.5 years. I think this is the third year of the,
Okay, so this is equipment we already own.
yeah.
This is just a lease.
It's a,
payment.
it's a capital
Is this the end of it, or we have more to go?
1, 2, 3. I think there's one more.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor?
Yes,
Second. Oh, Tom. All those in favor? All righty, next. All right, next, this will be the discussion item. Okay. Next is $300,000, $50,000 from Special Education Reserve and $250,000 from the Amity money to the Board of Ed to fund an anticipated shortfall in their budget. To open it for discussion, I'm gonna move acceptance of line item transfer 1819-32 in a total amount of $300,000.
I will second it.
Okay, so now where do we go with this? Is this,
So I'll just say that 210,000,
Mhm.
okay, is the amount for special ed.
okay,
The remainder relates to the
the
facilities work.
facility mess,
Okay,
which with any amount of luck, we might recoup it.
So how much was special ed?
210,000, that's what it is as of at the end of March. We haven't had the May meeting yet, so we don't have April. May meeting is Tuesday.
So it could go up.
It could go up, however, it did go down from February. It went down 7,000.
I'm sorry, what was that went down?
So the total amount that Beecher is in deficit went down 7,000 between February and March.
Okay.
So it's 210, but the total that they need is 302,794 as of the end of March.
For special ed.
No.
For other stuff.
For in
Okay.
total, of that, $210,184 is what they need for special ed.
So is town council gonna let us know if this is appropriate?
I don't see how we can vote without,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I'm thinking, that we should table it maybe till Monday night and see what town council says.
You just gotta get back to us, but.
Is
he
it
has
too late to
not,
call for like a
right?
special meeting before the meeting? I mean, I'm just concerned, and again,
Mm-hmm.
I
I think it's a legitimate question.
If the money,
Okay.
the money that they're
could do that.
required to spend, we have to figure out, but
We
if I
could
remember
certainly
correctly,
call
did they,
this meeting and have
did
him.
they ever come back to us with, this is what we need here?
There's
No,
this
what,
is-
what we asked for related to the fiscal year 20 budget, and that's what we didn't receive at the time that we made an approval. It's not related to this.
Right. That's right.
They have kept us informed all along.
Yes,
I mean,
that's true.
Bob and Al
Yes,
come
that's
to the
true.
Board of Selectmen every month,
Yes,
okay,
that's true.
and let you know where they are. So it's not like this has been, not
True.
transparent. I still agree with the issue of the magnitude
We
of
have to
this
do the
is
right
such
thing here.
that-
We never had this before,
Right, and do we have the authority
right?
to actually
That's my
make,
concern.
right,
We're way- we're-
that's the
We're
issue,
way above what we're
authorized.
authorized to approve,
Yeah.
right? So,
And without sort of going backwards,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little perplexed, I guess, by the size of this, because I've never seen anything like this. Now, is this all really unexpected influx of students
that's
from
what we're
from the
told.
last budget?
that's what we're
That is
told.
the explanation from the Board of Ed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
That's-
Well, the thing is, I mean, tuition
No,
itself can be $100,000.
No,
for
I
one
understand that, I'm
student.
just.
Right,
So-
but I've also been approached by people who said that, Amity way overestimated what they needed. Right, so we're getting that back.
For many years,
Right, so we're getting that back.
yes.
Right, which-
Wait a minute, I mean, if we're getting something back from a department that didn't spend as much as they thought.
Right, but I'm
doesn't
saying,
mean,
but that's a
you
big
know,
number. I mean, if they gave, they were over 100,000 or 200,000, say, okay, but $1 million, and I'm just,
And that's just
That's
our
our
portion.
portion.
That was $3
That's
million.
just our
right,
portion.
so I mean, that's, and then on the other side, we have Beecher, and they said, well, we're short 300. And Amity says, well, we're way over, we're over $1 million. So, it's just somewhere, we need to figure out. But again, like I said, I don't dispute the money that's needed for salaries, for healthcare, for all the contracted money and special ed. Not just
I just think,
beyond that, but even beyond that, it's whether we can, as a board, if we
Right.
have the authority, legal or otherwise, to recommend to the town to say, yeah, we're just gonna, we'll make it up. I don't know if we can, if
Seems to me
that's,
we have to table it until we get.
We do.
Because we can't.
I won't vote for it. I mean,
I can't.
Not that I'm going to vote no, but I'm not going to vote yes either. And I think, obviously, town council has been made aware of this,
Right.
so he must be. He must. First of all, like Dr. Silverberg said, to read the charter. Oh God. But I'm sure he's working on it, so I think we should hold off. Can we add this to the Monday night, or we might have to have a
We could.
special meeting or something?
We'll let you know. We can either add it
Right,
to
find
Monday,
out what
we
we
can
have
add
to
it to
do
Monday
with
night's
this.
agenda because
Yeah.
that's a regular meeting.
We're just going to take no action on this,
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
and we'll
But-
see how.
Right, but I
Do we
think
have
we
to- do we have
need
to
to
vote
let
to
Jerry
table it?
know he's got to get back.
Because it's currently an open
I
discussion.
think if we do nothing, it just automatically gets tabled. If somebody wants to make a motion to table it, we can do that too.
I don't think we need a motion.
I don't think we need to, we just don't
Okay.
take any action.
Okay,
We just don't act on it.
all right, we'll find out.
Yeah,
But I do think this is kind of it's not just a unique situation, but as you've said, Tom, you can go back to Amity and say, so over the past 5 years, you've asked us for $1 million more than what you need.
Right.
More
And
than that.
Matt has pointed this out
More than that.
continuously in terms of that.
and I got news for you, as we speak, they're over. I'll go through that in the liaison, but we're getting more back. I don't know how much, but I have an idea what it is now, and then it usually goes up as the year gets as the year ends, so.
Right.
I mean, again, they have a totally different, when they do their budget, the last thing they really want to do is, because then this would require a referendum on the three towns to fund this, so,
Right.
but,
So then, do they really have a choice but to kind of overestimate?
well,
and get
I'm
more?
assuming, yeah, they're conservative in their estimates, but I also think, I don't know, they don't have they don't have this special ed problem either. They don't.
Right.
Why, I mean, is that because,
I don't know, Tom.
maybe because it's coming up from the elementary school, so
I
they're
don't
pretty
know.
clear
I-
as to what it
In
is?
other words, is it possible in the future? They will, as the children move from Beecher to
I don't know how
Amity.
that it
I don't
gets
know.
handled over there. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
are they
I mean, at least
Well,
you
it's more
would
expensive
think,
to send
again,
them
I mean,
out.
you would think
Yep.
that most people
Well,
would come in earlier
Rationally, yeah,
and go ahead with it, as opposed
Exactly.
to how many people move in
right.
for the high school special
Right.
ed as opposed
Right.
to for
Yep.
But
elementary.
you also have to be a
Time will
little,
tell on that.
you
Yeah,
have to be tough with those things too. You just can't, oh yeah, okay, where do you want to send your child? Okay, we have to basically.
Well, they don't do that.
I hope
mean,
not.
there's a
I don't
whole,
think they
there's
can't
a,
do-
there's
they
a
can't
whole
do that.
process
Yes, it's-
of
it's
how
all
the children
tied-
are
it's all-
evaluated.
Well, I'm just curious why we're
And-
so much worse off than our neighboring towns.
I think it goes back
Well,
to the
back to what I
reputation and the
said.
fact
Well, I
that we
don't-
do really
well,
take care of these
reputations,
kids.
yeah, but reputation as a fine school system is one thing. But if you have a special needs child,
No,
if-
they have a reputation for their special ed departments.
also.
yeah, that's the
Yes.
thing.
in-house.
Yes.
In-house.
Yes,
Well, yeah, I
exactly.
mean, it's more
Exactly.
expensive to send a child out because you have to pay for the school, you also have to pay, transport the child.
Correct,
So, even if you have kids in town that go somewhere else,
right,
technically we're responsible.
right.
And I
So-
think they've done over the years, I
In
think
our
they've done a really
transportation.
good job of keeping it in-house, which
The
then
board is
raises the
responsible.
quality,
Right, right.
at which point then people want to move in because they know that it's here.
And as I've said numerous times, Woodbridge has become affordable.
Yeah.
Years
Well,
ago,
right.
400,000, you couldn't buy anything. Now,
Right, but you can't blame the school for that. I
No.
mean, it is a
No.
consequence,
no,
but that is what's happened.
no.
But what else is gonna happen is that the mill rate's gonna continue to go up, and we're gonna get people moving out who don't wanna pay the mill rate. And we're lucky enough that, we have the people in town, the residents in town, who no longer have children in school, who still vote for the budget.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're lucky, I mean, except for that one year, we had, what, a dozen? I can't remember, 20? How many,
Well, I have a funny
Something like
feeling
that.
we might hear about this Monday night.
Yep.
Somebody's going to show up, and
Mhm.
I don't know if
Yeah.
Dr. Silver will come to the town meeting, but if not, I have a feeling someone will show up, and so we need to figure out what we're going to do.
Okay.
All right, the last item is request for funding 1819-33 in the amount of $11,600 to fell trees and flail mow the Country Club of Woodbridge property. And, again, I think this is something we have to do
So
because,
this is
I will
separate,
second
three
that.
issues
Yeah.
separate here than it
It's a
was for the
safety
10,000
issue.
that
We
we.
had Adam give us several proposals, almost.
Particularly
as
the
much as-
tree part's a safety
yeah,
issue at the club.
$114,000 to do it all, which is just not possible,
Right, but so
obviously.
the 10,000 for trees in town does not count.
No,
That's
this
not-
is just to go on the country club, former country club property and drop a whole bunch of trees.
There are
where they went,
37 trees, I believe, that are dead, that have to come down for safety reasons, so that they don't hurt someone. Is it 37?
Yeah, it was about
Something
that,
like
yeah.
that. And they're gonna leave them there, they're not gonna grind them up or anything, and then the rest is for the flail mowing, which is a,
4,500 for the flame.
yeah, something like that.
What are these, more ash trees that are done?
I don't know what kind of
They're
trees,
not all
they're
ash
just,
trees.
they're
I
all
was over there
dead.
last week.
Whether they're ash or
trees.
whatever, they're dead. So Adam did a full review of every piece of that property.
So this is just a one-time thing. This is not upkeep over the
You
summer.
betcha, nope. This is
So,
it.
The tree part's a one-time thing,
Right,
right, but we're not clearing them, so.
no.
correct.
That's not really taking care of the property.
no,
No.
it's people who are
No.
walking the property, that,
Okay,
know.
so the trees don't fall off the
That's-
limbs.
It's safety, this is more for safety.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going
And
forward,
so-
no.
Is there a thought about what to do to, let's say, keep it safe and keep it mowed?
As far as trees, I think this will take care of the trees that are dead, the ones that are actually, as far as mowing, we have some more money, I think, in the budget to mow it perhaps once. We only
Yeah.
mowed it once last
Yeah,
year.
there's $5,000
It's
in the
not gonna
budget.
ever look like a country club, let's
Oh,
face it,
no,
but to
I'm-
mow
no,
it
no,
and
no,
try
I'm not
to,
asking
yeah.
that.
What's your
Right.
concern regarding safety other than the trees?
I don't know if there are other safety issues in terms of people walking the property. I don't know if they walk along the,
Right. We have
if
My
they
biggest
walk
cons-
along the, where
They
the,
can walk the
paths
cart
are
paths,
things, yeah.
which the cart paths are not, they're not bad. I mean,
Okay.
if it was a golf course, we would certainly be fixing
No,
some
sure.
of those.
Right.
But, I mean, if it's for walking,
I
seems
think
fine,
Adam
jogging
also
those
said that
cart paths.
the cart paths are in such bad shape now. Maybe I dreamt it, but I think that's what he said. That it's hard. It takes takes much more manpower now to mow along the sides of the cart paths. So he's just stopped doing, he's done parts of it where people are walking, but he can't do the whole thing anymore. They're all uprooted with trees and, roots coming through and everything. It's we, 114,000.
Well, it's open space right now.
Yep, he could do a lot more, but it's a lot of money.
It's in better shape than a lot of the trails we have in town.
We thought we would try to address the safety issues, first,
agree.
right now.
I just want to make it,
Right.
because I know we were spending 10,000 for trees. I didn't know if that had anything to do with this.
No, that's road,
Totally
Public Works,
separate.
yeah. Yep.
Okay, we have a second? Need a
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
So Tony, why don't you, can you give us a breakdown of,
I could.
what did we got how much did we get from Amity?
981,853.
981, 853, okay.
Right. So you put 220,719 for next year's budget.
We carried it into next year's budget.
Yep.
How much?
220,719.
Now, is that in addition to the 400,000? In other words, we always
Yes.
bring four.
But the 220,719 was the same number as it was the previous year.
Okay,
So 2 years in a row, the previous year you received 220 from Amity.
all right.
That gives you an idea.
So we want to make sure we get 220 this year.
Right, exactly. Right.
Can't do it again.
All right, so we put in 220,
719.
719, okay,
Transferred 84,570
okay.
for
Those capital things.
it was some capital, but some some professional services.
Okay,
Wasn't all capital.
okay.
As a matter of fact, it's only a part of it was capital. But anyway, that was for the HVAC issues at Beecher.
So you transferred it where?
From to an account, not to their operating budget, a separate account.
Okay.
For HVAC issues.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
It's not part of their general operating budget. Is that what your
Right.
question is?
Yeah.
Okay,
You just did 161,000 this evening.
161. That was for police car and
Correct.
public works
Right.
and all that.
Yep.
Okay.
There's 250 on the proposal for this Beecher,
Which is sitting.
which is sitting right. There's probably another 140 or so, 100 and a little bit. I haven't gotten the final pricing yet for the two items remaining in the capital budget that we haven't put forward yet, and that's the PC, the computers over at the police department. Well, that's the only one. And then there's some town hall computer IT related project, which we've discussed in the past.
Okay.
Okay, so
It's 120 maybe.
go back to the one that's sitting.
The one for the 250 for the Board of Ed.
When you did
Board of
vote.
Ed.
Well, we didn't vote on it.
We didn't vote on it. So
It's actually 300, but 250 is from the Amity money, and 50 was from a reserve you set up last year.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's why.
I thought you were talking about the other one that we talked about earlier that the Board of Selectmen is holding.
25.
That's contingency.
Oh, that's going to come out of contingency?
Yes, that's
Not Amity, okay.
correct.
All right.
We haven't approved it yet.
About 120, yeah.
So what does that leave us with?
125, 130,000.
And that's if we approve the 250.
Correct.
So right now it's 375, something like that.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, town council is going to have to be put on notice that we're not doing anything until we hear from him.
Okay.
Are you going to have a
Should-
special Board of Finance
Yeah.
meeting prior to the annual
After.
town meeting? After. Okay.
Well, you're going to, today and Monday, you're going to have to figure out.
So do
Where
you have a regular
where
meeting
this goes.
anyway?
Yeah, it would probably go to a special.
After the annual town meeting.
So you'll have to add that to the agenda perhaps?
It's a regular meeting. You can always add.
Redo the agenda?
Yeah, we can add
Okay.
it to-
I just get nervous about agendas, you know.
Have the agenda comes out.
We get beat up.
And then if you have to, you can do a special town meeting. Next 2-3 weeks to
Yeah.
approve it.
Okay.
My sense is it's not going to be at the annual town meeting because, like you said, it wasn't noticed.
Right.
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 All right.
There is something in the call to the annual town meeting that says, "and other matters
Yeah,
as should
there is.
are proper," or
Right.
something.
Use that.
Right.
But that's
Well, that's, town
I don't
council
know.
will have to make,
exactly.
Yeah.
we need him badly this time
Right.
around.
Yep.
Yeah.
He will be on notice.
Okay.
All right, next is
said
the
that.
approval of minutes for April 22nd. This was our regular monthly meeting. So I will move acceptance of the minutes of April 22nd as presented. Any corrections, adjustments, anything? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, I think everybody was here. Okay. And for those of you who don't know, I think you do know, Andy Pells will be leaving us. He couldn't come tonight. I don't know if he'll even be around for our next meeting.
He'll still be in town.
He'll be in town?
For sure.
Okay. We'll say goodbye to him then.
And he'll be here Monday night, but he's not positive about the June meeting.
Okay, well, then we'll see him Monday night.
That's the week they plan on moving.
Okay. We have before us a preliminary suspense list that I believe Pat Crisco would like us to approve.
That's next month. You just reviewed this.
Oh, okay, this is an FYI then, okay. All right. Appointment of auditor, Tony?
So every year, the Board of Finance is the audit committee. And you have to appoint the auditor to the state, we have to notify the state Office of Policy and Management who our auditor is. So you have to appoint an auditor. And so I put the proposal here in front of you for next year for McGladrey, RSM, actually, to be our auditor. It's a two-page, two pages, yeah.
So I have a question for you. When was the last time we had a competitive bidding process for this?
About 4 years ago.
And so should it be part of the process that every 4 years we get competitive bids?
Probably. You could do it. We could do one next year, or if you'd like. I didn't do one this year. But
I mean, I'm not unhappy with that.
Yeah,
at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
Certainly they
I don't know about
know
every-
the town.
yeah, probably. I think most towns do it every 5 years or so, 6 years. So we'll probably do in the next couple of years.
So maybe next year.
Yeah, because it takes a fair amount of time for an audit firm to recoup the initial cost of getting familiar with your
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So usually you like to spread that over 4 or 5 years. So I'd probably say maybe next year we'll do a bid, and then we'll probably do another 5-year
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Last year when we bid, we had them lock in for 4 years,
Sure.
and with an option for a fifth year,
year.
and that's what this is.
Okay.
They gave me 2 years. I just asked for 1.
Okay. And do we know, compared to other towns, our size, and by size, given our budget, what the cost is? Is this within
It is.
reason?
Yeah, it's very reasonable. As a matter of fact, it's probably a little lower than some.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
their rates are very reasonable.
Okay,
That's because they're auditing it.
right. I know.
They know it. You know,
I just want
I'm
to
not
make
going to lose any
that
sleep. Yeah.
clear.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
certainly. Understood.
Do you need a motion on this?
Yes.
Just for the 1 year?
Just for the 1 year. Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the hiring or appointment of RSM US LLP as the auditors to audit the fiscal year 2019 in the amount of $52,500.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. First Selectmen's report.
Thank you. It was a pretty okay Board of Selectmen meeting last week. We went through all the funding requests that you have now seen this evening. A couple of them were tabled, so I'll let you know about those next month. We approved the solid waste, finally, recycling ordinance to go to a public hearing in June. This is going to we have to do it in order to accommodate the scale up at the transfer station, so we are making progress with that. We're continuing discussion with our developers at the former Country Club of Woodbridge property regarding the constructability study. And we hope to perhaps have a special meeting on June 4th to, again, have a discussion with both developers. Last month, one of them was ill and couldn't make it, or whatever, couldn't make it. And then this month, one of them couldn't make it, so we need them both in the same room. So I don't know if that's been scheduled yet, but we're trying to do that. Joe Crisco, Joe Dye and Sandy Stein will be, we congratulated you last week on coming to the Board of Selectmen beginning July 1, and all others who were elected or re-elected. And I thanked that evening the town clerks and the registrars, and I take the opportunity to do it again, and all the poll workers for this year, as it is every other year, running an election on Monday and then having an amity budget referendum another 15 hours 2 days later. And they did a fantastic job. So I want to thank them again. And I thanked all the townspeople as well for coming out. And then I just want to thank you all for the past 2 years working with you. We've worked well together, I think. And I thank you for your support and listening to me. And I think we have good dialogue between us. And my comment to the board, and I'll say it to you as well, town service is an endeavor that involves many hours of personal sacrifice. And I thank you and your family members for giving you up. So that, and all our volunteers on all our boards and commissions, it's really a sacrifice, and we all appreciate it. And I'm sure the townspeople do as well. That's my report.
That's it? Okay. All righty. Liaison reports. Okay, Amity met Monday night, and currently, and this is after they spent $250,000 on Sally Ports, which is structures at each of the 3 schools for security, where there's going to be somebody there checking people in and whatever. So that's already included in this. There currently is a surplus of $1,400,000. Of that, $390,000 roughly is revenue in excess of budget, which they automatically have to return to us. In other words, they can spend their full expenditure budget, but when revenue comes in above budget, they have to return that. So we should be getting that's guaranteed $120,000 that we're going to receive from the revenue. And again, I'm sure if history holds, this number will grow as we get closer to the end of the year. And there's no guarantee, but usually as we get closer to the end of the year, this number grows. So we're looking at money back again. Some people are terribly concerned. Roughly a $50 million budget. It's 2.5%, something like that. It's not a tremendous number. And as Paul pointed out, to come up short by $1 million would require a real. So they really can't. And again, with the Amity Finance Committee meeting monthly and being constantly kept apprised of the financial situation, we always know where we're at there. I tell you guys every month where we're at. So I'm telling you this month we're about $1.4 million above the above what they needed. So we'll see where this goes, but there's no question we'll be getting some money back again. And as Tony said, we need 220. 220 balances the budget next year, and we don't have to worry. So I can tell you right now, we need another 100. Right. All right, and I don't think that's going to be a problem. So, and it's always a discussion. They have things they want to do, and the towns want the money back. So, Beth came last year and spoke along with Jim and Derry, and they eventually agreed to give it back to us. So we'll see where it goes from here. Other than that, financially, everything seems to be going along fine. They like Woodbridge have a pretty significant one of the items in the surplus is investment income, just as you have, Tony. It's like $115,000 more in favorable. And again, a lot of movement, special ed grants. They go through this every month when we set their medical and dental insurance. They're about $200,000 to the good on that. So it's all spelled out for us. We go over everything, so it's pretty clearly. And they have, unfortunately, she's retiring. The person who takes care of their special services happens to be a Woodbridge resident, Mary Rayola, and she is retiring, so she's going to be difficult to replace. She's really, really good at what she does. She's been doing it a long time. And other than that, I think everything's in fine shape. The superintendent of schools seems to have hit the ground running and is doing a great job. And the referendum, albeit a waste of money, in my opinion, because 1,000 people in 3 towns came out and voted. I figure it's about $12 a vote. It's crazy. I've always said, why don't we just have a district meeting? But some people think, oh no, it's a good thing. But to get 1,000 people in all three towns and 70% approval, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Might be more.
we'll see. So everything's fine at Amity. Okay, Paul, you have anything?
The police commission meeting got canceled this month, so.
Okay, nothing. Tom?
I was not able to make the meeting, so I'll have a report the next one.
Okay. Tom?
They had a special meeting for the fire commission that I had to miss, and then the regular one is next week, so.
I didn't make it either, but I read the agenda and they approved the hiring part-time of someone to replace Amy.
Right.
It was a special meeting, so.
Right.
And that'll be coming up to the Board of Selectmen on Monday night before the annual town meeting from personnel.
Okay, Sandy? I know you have something.
I did. I did go to the Library Commission meeting on Monday, May 13th. And just want to report that the Friends are having their book sale the weekend of May 30th, May 31st, and June 1st. And there are many other events on June 1st. That is a Saturday. Red Litter Day, the dog park people.
Have the dog strut your mutt or something.
Right. And I think the Garden Club is also having something, so I would encourage people to go. There'll be a lot of activity here,
Hope the weather
right outside the
is better.
library. Yep. And I'll also let you know that Tuesday ends up being a, quote, free day. That's what the Friends call it. That they let certain groups know, and residents can come, and they take the remains of things that didn't sell, and you can take them for free. So that enables them to kind of replenish their inventory. So apparently their HVAC project is set to start in early June, and it's going to extend into July. They're a little concerned, again, in terms of humidity and temperature. So far, we've been really lucky with the weather. But it's been told to them that they will have air conditioning,
That's correct.
during the project. There seems to be
June 3rd and June, it ends June 26th, I think,
okay.
something like that.
All right. There just seems to be some angst about this, so I'm just letting you know.
Gotcha.
And they will actually have 5 interns from Amity to help with the Friends and to do other work in the library. So they're definitely looking forward to that. And then the Board of Ed Finance Committee meeting was April 23rd, so it was the day after we had our preliminary budget hearing, and I shared the numbers with you already from the March report. I will have access, I think, to the April report when we meet on Monday. That meeting was moved to Tuesday, but so I can share that at that point. There are a couple things that I think would help in terms of communication, and we did discuss this at the Finance Committee meeting. One is that at the monthly meetings that the superintendent and Al have with the two of you, to include the board chair and potentially the vice chair.
Problem is it's daytime. I guess we're going to have to,
Right.
yeah. So.
Well, even if they can call in,
Right. That'd be
because I
fine.
think that the message has to get through to the
I
board.
think that's a wonderful
Okay,
idea.
and so that would be one way to try to
Absolutely.
reestablish that. The other thing is, since there's a lot of back and forth with facilities for the town with Beecher in terms of work that they are doing there, to basically on a quarterly basis, to have Brad come and just kind of hear what their issues are, talk about what other things are going on in the town, and just to better coordinate how the town might be helpful to Beecher. I mean, I'm just sharing that. You can take that and do what you want with that. And then the last thing is about having a financial target for next year for them, so that the board and the superintendent has something to work with, and that as they begin their teacher contract negotiations, there's some parameters there. So we did agree at our last Board of Finance meeting that we would discuss that and potentially give them a target.
Do we know when the contract negotiations are starting? Or have they started?
They might have started already. It might be June, though. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Do you think it's June?
They're
not up
I'm
till
on the
next year,
list.
though.
I haven't heard that they
I think they're
started.
not up till next year. The actual contracts. I think they start a year in advance, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But that will play into what their
The budget,
you know,
yeah,
the
it's
budget
not
is
next
for
year's budget, the year after,
2021.
so it's good timing, yeah.
Right. So, are we willing to set some parameters for them that would be helpful?
And how would we do that if we,
Well, I know the last time we told them 2. They went to 2.7 and they overspent it by 300,000. So, you know, I mean, we can give them all the parameters we want, but if they're not going to adhere to them,
But I think if we don't give them anything,
yeah.
then
Well,
what do we hold them accountable
I promise
for?
you, I'll give them one. I don't know if they're going to want to hear it, but I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Next year, on an overall basis, we have to shoot for 0. We have to, because I'm fearful of the reval coming in, and that's going to automatically jack up the mill. I think Betsy kind of told us that the $300,000, their houses are but the houses above that are going to probably come down.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is a lot of houses, and if our grand list comes down and the mill rate goes to 43, oh my God! I mean, through no fault of ours, it's just
Right.
It's just
It's not sustainable, and
Yeah.
it may be that we look for less than 0.
yeah,
Okay, and we have some parameters around which we ask
Yeah.
groups to really look at.
People have to understand what programs are important and
Right.
which ones are not.
Right, right,
Which services are important
Yeah.
and which ones are not.
right. And where might there be overlap? That we really don't need
Yep.
competing programs.
That's true.
And all of that has to be on the table.
Yep.
And the question is, where does that directive come from? Is it from the Board of Finance? Is it from the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen? But we really, really need to be serious about this. And even in terms of capital, because again, we funded a lot of capital through funds that we're not going to have available next year. So what do we do in terms of really looking at that? Can we start extending, police cars? And yes, you may have repairs, but we may need to do that. And maybe we can't have as large an equipment reserve. We've cut down on the road paving, multiple years in a row. Where are our priorities, and how do we start really exploring that and providing some guidance as to where we think things can change?
yeah, it seems that we're going to have to do it.
Right.
And early enough so that departments and Beecher can take that into account really early.
Less than 0 is really where we have to take this. We're there. We just have
Well,
to.
again, I don't know, other than cutting programs, reducing hours, et cetera, I don't know how much less our other departments can be told to operate with. I mean,
Right.
they haven't, none of them, I think, are, we go through, I mean, take away salaries, there's nothing, So we're going to start letting people go, and then we're not going to be able, it's going to be, it's tough, let's be honest about it. If we can't control education, there's not much we can do beyond with these other. We can't. I mean, I don't know how much more can we pull off of these other departments. It's all about education. I mean, 2/3 of or whatever, 70%, and health insurance, and I heard some things about some contracts that there's some things in contracts that are just ridiculous. I'm not talking about education either. I don't know. It's just. If we're going to start, the people in this town are very demanding. I was with someone, and he's telling me what a waste of money the Public Works garage was. I said,
What?
What are you talking about? Oh, you didn't need to do that. I said, did you ever visit the old public works? This is sort of baseball game, I'm having this discussion. And I finally said to him, I said, you know, you'd be the, I just met this guy. I said, you'll be the first one to come screaming if they don't plow your street. I said, it was one of the most pressing needs I've ever seen, the public works garage. Aside from the fact they lost a third of their garage when we had the gas leak, I said, and you don't want to give them come on. So then we heard another person saying that the police department's just fine, you know, and we've all been there. We know the deplorable conditions there. Not nearly as bad as public works, but still, it's antiquated over there. So, I mean, there's just so many things that, you know.
Building a facility
Yeah.
ended up helping us save
Yeah.
vehicles.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they're
Absolutely.
now under, a lot of the
The
vehicles
way it
were
should
out
have been.
all
We're
winter.
in the dark
you know.
ages. We were in the dark
Right.
ages with our public works. But, you know,
Well, the Board of Selectmen is looking at the strategic plan,
Yeah.
which we didn't put it forward because they wanted more scope. So that will look at departments, look at programs, look at everything and how we do everything, how we conduct business. And that may help us, guide us, and we're asking for it fairly soon so that we can give it, you know, maybe get it before we start our budget process. We're hoping.
That's really where it belongs, I think. I mean, we had talked about that a couple meetings ago.
Yep,
That we should look at something like that, but I think
Right.
it's gotta come from the Board of Selectmen.
right. And then we'll
They've
send,
gotta
if it's
prioritize-
approved, it'll go to you and,
Because there are, you know, the old firehouse, the police department, the center
Yep.
school, the senior center, all these things have to get done.
yep.
And we can't do them all at once.
Nope.
and I'm assuming we've expended a lot of money on that air issue at Beecher. That's ongoing negotiations or discussions? Yeah, because,
Ongoing, yeah.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
as far as
Well,
I'm
we had a
concerned.
special meeting for that, right? Isn't that what we met on to
Yeah, but I mean,
discuss that?
as far as I'm concerned, they've got to hold the contractor's feet to the fire because, to me, it's a blatant case of they didn't do the job. I mean, I'm not going to go back into it again, but they didn't do the job. It's wrong and cost us $160,000 to repair their mistake, and I think they've got to come up with that money. But maybe that's why you go to court. So.
So Beth, is your feeling that we need to pay a consultant to help us identify
Yes.
how we're gonna do things
Right,
differently?
That's where the it's about 25,000, 35 total.
Yeah.
There's 10,000 in next year's budget under the Board of Selectmen,
Mm-hmm.
and we're trying to identify 25,000 in this year's budget. So we'd like to get it done as soon as we can so that they can get started and looking at everything.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a position that maybe could be combined when someone leaves, you know, things like that save you money.
Sure.
And I don't think it's ever really been looked at this microscopically. So we had a proposal from a firm named Bloom Shapiro,
Mm.
came last month, and they went over, you know, just a brief overview, and the board wanted to see the entire scope of their project. So we've sent that out to them, and hopefully, you know, we'll get it approved at the June meeting.
They're the ones who did the report on regionalization of services also? I think so. It's the same.
I don't know. I don't know if
I
that was
think
when I
it-
was here?
Yeah, I think
With
it,
us?
yeah, I think it came to the Board of Selectmen also. Some report that I saw.
Okay.
Let us not forget that we still haven't heard from the state. If they
Oh,
dro-
thank
if
you
they drop
for that.
those, if they
Yeah.
drop those teachers' pensions on, it's just going to make it. If they're talking about they're getting back into car taxes again, where they want to do. I mean, give me a break.
Everything taxes.
You know, but if they drop the teacher pension on us, that's
Yep.
that's a problem. And I don't see how they're not, but we'll see. And we still don't know what we're getting either,
No,
right?
do not.
No.
So more to come on this whole thing.
I don't think it's going to be till November, though.
Really.
With that, I think they'll,
It'd be last year, 2 years ago was October.
Yeah.
October, yeah. Last year was closer,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wasn't bad.
I think I hope we should know soon.
Okay.
Who knows?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?